Your ego is the loudest liar in the room. It convinces you that you're always right, that you need to win every argument, that respect comes from being louder, harsher, more stubborn. But here's the truth. Ego doesn't make you strong. It makes you fragile. Ego is the reason people get manipulated, disrespected, and blindsided. If you want to be untouchable, you don't need more ego. You need control. Overcoming your ego is the first step to true power. People often confuse ego with strength. They think the louder they are, the more dominant they look. They think interrupting someone in a meeting, refusing to admit mistakes, or winning arguments makes them powerful. But let me tell you the truth. Ego is not strength. Ego is weakness dressed up in a costume. It's a shield made of glass. The second pressure hits it, it cracks. Ego-driven people crumble faster under stress because their entire identity is built on being right, being admired, being validated. And when those things get threatened, they don't know how to handle it. They explode, they get defensive, they spiral into anger. That's not power, that's fragility. True strength is tested under fire. Ego can't survive fire because it's not built on discipline. It's built on fear of being exposed. Think about it. When someone insults you and your ego jumps out demanding you clap back, scream, prove yourself, who's really in control? Not you. The person who poked your ego is in control. They got you to react. They pulled your strings like a puppet. That's why I say ego is not strength. It's the easiest entry point for people to break you. Now picture the opposite. Someone insults you, undermines you, challenges you, and you don't flinch. You don't raise your voice. You don't even give them the reaction they want. Instead, you stand still, calm, measured. They can't get to you. That's power. That's resilience. That's someone who knows who they are without needing to scream it at the world. Ego is fragile because it relies on external validation. You need people to clap for you. You need people to agree with you. You need people to say, yes, you're right. That's dependence, not dominance, and dependence is always fragile. True strength doesn't need applause. It doesn't need constant reassurance. It knows itself, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Look at the most disciplined people in the world. Elite soldiers, undercover agents, world-class leaders. They don't walk into a room announcing their greatness. They don't need to. They've trained so deeply, so thoroughly, that their strength shows in their presence, not in their ego. You'll never see the strongest person in the room trying to prove it. That's because they already know. The danger with ego is that it blinds you. It makes you think you're untouchable, but really, it makes you a target. Manipulators love ego-driven people because they're predictable. They know exactly what button to press, your pride. They'll disrespect you, ignore you, challenge you, just to watch you overreact. And while you're busy defending your ego, they're winning. They're controlling the narrative. They're walking away with the advantage. Here's a tactical truth. The person with the biggest ego is always the weakest player on the field. Why? Because you can control them with one move, a jab at their pride, and they'll fall for it every time. That's not strength. That's weakness. And now let's break this down into your daily life. How often does your ego show up? Maybe you argue with your partner because you have to be right. Maybe you snap at your coworker because you can't stand being corrected. Maybe you post online, trying to prove you're better than someone else. Ask yourself, what's driving that behavior? It's not discipline, it's not awareness, it's ego. And every time ego wins, you lose control. So how do you start dismantling ego? First, awareness. Recognize it when it shows up. The moment you feel that urge to clap back, to prove, to demand recognition, pause. That's ego knocking. Second, ask yourself, is this about strength or insecurity? 9 times out of 10, you'll find it's insecurity. Third, flip the script. Instead of reacting, train yourself to respond with calm. Walk away, stay silent, or redirect your energy into something productive. That's not weakness, that's restraint. And restraint is real strength. Understand this. Ego wants the spotlight. It wants you to chase validation. But real power comes from discipline. Discipline is quiet. It doesn't need approval. It doesn't need a stage. It shows up when you can keep your composure under pressure, when you can hold back instead of lashing out, when you can take a loss without losing yourself. That's what makes you unbreakable. Ego is fragile because it can be broken with words. Strength can't. Strength is unshakable, no matter what's said, no matter what's done. You want to be that kind of woman. The one people look at and say, she can't be rattled, she can't be played, she can't be broken. That's the edge you get when you bury your ego and build your discipline. So stop mistaking ego for strength. Stop thinking volume equals power. Stop letting your pride run your life. The world is full of people who lost battles they could have won because their ego got in the way. Don't be one of them. Because here's the bottom line, your ego will get you trapped, but your discipline will set you free. Ego isn't just fragile, it's a wall that keeps you trapped in the same place, same patterns, same mistakes. And here's the brutal truth. If your ego runs your life, you'll never grow, you'll never improve. Because growth requires humility. Growth requires the ability to admit you don't know, that you can learn, that you can evolve. Ego won't let you do that. Ego whispers, you're already right, you don't need to change. And that's exactly why people stay stuck. When your ego is in control, you're so focused on proving yourself that you miss the lessons right in front of you. You shut down feedback. You ignore advice. You reject new ideas. Why? Because your ego tells you admitting you're wrong makes you weak. But let me tell you something. The strongest people in the world are the ones who can say, I was wrong, teach me, show me, help me get better. That's not weakness, that's strength. Think about the best athletes, the best performers, the best leaders. They're already great at what they do, but they never stop learning. They have coaches, they take criticism, they adjust. That's why they keep winning. If ego controlled them, they'd stay stagnant. They'd say, I don't need anyone, I already know everything. And the moment they think that, someone hungrier, someone more humble, someone willing to learn takes their place. Ego blocks growth. Humility drives it. Ego is dangerous because it makes you blind to your own flaws. It convinces you that you're fine the way you are, even when you're not. It tells you to cover up mistakes instead of confronting them. And if you don't confront your mistakes, you'll repeat them over and over again. That's why you see people trapped in cycles. Same toxic relationships, same financial mistakes, same job frustrations. It's not fate, it's ego. They refuse to admit they could be wrong. Now let's make this tactical. Picture a woman in a meeting. Someone challenges her idea. If her ego takes over, she snaps back, defends herself, shuts down the other person. Did she look strong? Maybe. But did she grow? No. She missed the chance to see a new angle, to sharpen her idea, to learn something she didn't know. That's the trap. Ego cares about the momentary win. Growth cares about the long game. The truth is, your ego will have you fighting battles that don't even matter. You'll waste your energy proving points instead of gaining wisdom. You'll waste your time being right instead of being better. Ask yourself, do you want to win arguments or do you want to win in life? Because you can't have both if your ego is in the way. Here's what real strength looks like. The ability to take feedback without falling apart. The ability to say, thank you for pointing that out. The ability to listen to people who know more than you without feeling threatened. That's the kind of strength that makes you unstoppable. Because when you're open to learning, you can adapt to anything. You can evolve in any environment. You can rise above anyone who's still stuck in their pride. Ego blocks growth because it puts your reputation above your reality. You care more about looking strong than actually being strong. You care more about being seen as right than becoming wise. And that's why so many people live on a fake foundation. They look confident, but they're insecure. They look successful, but they're fragile. Why? Because ego kept them from doing the hard work of evolving. I'll give it to you straight. The world doesn't reward ego. The world rewards those who adapt, those who learn, those who grow. The market changes, relationships shift, life throws curveballs. Ego-driven people break under that pressure because they refuse to adjust. But disciplined people, humble people, they adapt, they study, they get better. That's why they thrive. So how do you overcome this ego trap? First, get brutally honest with yourself. Ask, what am I refusing to learn because my pride won't let me? Second, reframe failure. Failure is not humiliation, it's education. Every time you fail, you just discovered one way not to do it, which brings you closer to the right way. Third, actively seek challenge. Put yourself in rooms where you're not the smartest person, not the most skilled, not the most experienced. If your ego can handle being the student, you'll grow faster than the people who insist on always being the teacher. Here's the irony. People think ego makes them strong, but it actually makes them fragile. They think humility makes them weak, but it actually makes them powerful. The person who can admit mistakes, take feedback, and keep improving will always outlast the one who clings to their ego. Growth requires discipline, it requires honesty, it requires humility. Ego hates all three. That's why you've got to kill your ego before it kills your potential. Because at the end of the day, the question is simple. Do you want to protect your ego or do you want to build your power? You can't do both. If you think ego makes you untouchable, let me break the illusion for you. Ego doesn't make you stronger. It makes you easier to control. In fact, ego is the #1 entry point manipulators use to get inside your head. Why? Because pride is predictable. If I know what your ego craves, recognition, validation, being right, being admired, I already know how to play you. Understand this. Ego-driven people are not in control. They are being controlled. Their pride writes the script, and all it takes is one skilled manipulator to read it out loud. Think about it. If I want to get you to react, I insult you. If I want you to prove yourself, I challenge you. If I want you to open up, I flatter you. And if your ego is unchecked, you'll take the bait every single time. That's not strength. That's being a puppet on a string. And let's be clear, the world is full of people who know how to pull strings. Let's take a real-life example. You're in a heated discussion. Someone says something disrespectful. Your ego screams, "Don't let them get away with that." So you snap back, raise your voice, and now you look emotional, unstable, and out of control. Congratulations, they got you. They set the trap and you walked straight into it. While you were busy defending your pride, they gained the upper hand. They got exactly what they wanted, your reaction. Here's the tactical truth. The person who can control their ego will always control the situation. The one who can't will always be played. Manipulators understand this game better than anyone. They know ego-driven people need to be respected, praised, or seen as powerful. So what do? They either feed that ego with fake flattery or starve it with calculated disrespect. Either way, they own you, because now you're chasing validation or chasing revenge. In both cases, you're no longer thinking strategically. You're just reacting. And the most dangerous part, you don't even realize it. Ego blinds you. It makes you think you're defending your honor, when in reality, you're dancing to someone else's tune. The strongest people I know are the hardest to manipulate because their pride isn't steering the wheel. You can insult them and they won't bite. You can flatter them and they won't melt. You can ignore them and they won't chase you. Why? Because their confidence doesn't come from ego. It comes from discipline and self-awareness. They don't need you to validate them. They already know who they are. Here's a tactical exercise for you. The next time someone tries to provoke you, pause. Don't respond. Don't take the bait. Ask yourself, are they actually attacking me or are they trying to trigger my ego? That split-second awareness could save you from being played. Another example, let's say someone wants information out of you. If you're ego-driven, they just compliment you. Wow, you're so smart. You probably know more about this than anyone. And what happens? You start talking. You give them everything they want just to feed that pride. You think you're shining, they're collecting intel. See the danger? Your ego talks too much. Now imagine the opposite. Someone flatters you, and instead of taking the bait, you nod, stay quiet, or redirect. They can't hook you. That's power. That's tactical restraint. Understand this. Ego makes you transparent. It exposes your weaknesses. If you're desperate to be respected, people will disrespect you to control you. If you're desperate to be admired, people will flatter you to control you. If you're desperate to win every argument, people will bait you into useless fights. That's how you get manipulated, by your own pride. But when you kill that ego, you become unpredictable. People can't figure you out. They can't bait you. They can't push your buttons. And that's when you become untouchable. Here's the bottom line. Manipulators don't waste time on disciplined people. Why? Because discipline doesn't react. It doesn't crave applause. It doesn't chase validation. Discipline observes, calculates, and decides. Ego reacts. Discipline responds. Which one do you want to be? If you really want psychological strength, you've got to train yourself to spot the difference between your true self and your ego. Your true self doesn't need defending. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need to win every battle. Ego does. And if you keep letting ego take the wheel, you'll keep driving straight into traps set by people who understand human nature better than you do. The greatest manipulation tactic in the world isn't about force. It's about control. And nothing is easier to control than unchecked pride. So ask yourself this. Are you running your ego, or is your ego running you? Because if you can't control it, someone else will. And that's a game you'll lose every single time. You can't kill ego by pretending it doesn't exist. Ego will always whisper. It will always try to push you into defending, proving, chasing validation. The real strategy isn't ignoring ego, it's replacing it. And the weapon you replace it with is discipline. Discipline is the opposite of ego. Ego is loud. Discipline is quiet. Ego needs the world to notice. Discipline doesn't care who's watching. Ego is reactive. Discipline is strategic. Ego shouts, "I'm strong." Discipline doesn't say a word. It shows strength when it counts. Think about it. Ego says, don't let anyone disrespect you. Discipline says, not every battle is worth fighting. Ego says, you have to prove you're right. Discipline says, stay silent and let results speak. Ego craves recognition. Discipline craves progress. Which one wins in the long run? Always discipline. Let's get tactical. If you replace ego with discipline, here's what happens. When someone insults you, ego wants to explode. Discipline tells you to pause, breathe, hold the line. Why? Because the second you lose composure, you lose control. Discipline gives you the patience to outlast the attack. Ego gets rattled. Discipline stays steady. And steady always wins. When someone challenges you, ego wants to argue. Discipline asks, is this worth my time? Is this worth my energy? Most of the time, the answer is no. Discipline is selective. It knows not every fight deserves a response. Ego wastes energy proving. Discipline conserves energy for real battles. When life humbles you, you fail, you get rejected, you take a loss. Ego panics. Ego says, I can't be seen as weak. Discipline says, this is training. Learn, adjust, come back stronger. Ego collapses under failure. Discipline builds from it. That's why disciplined people rise while ego-driven people crumble. The beauty of discipline is that it builds strength from the inside out. Ego is about appearances. It's about looking strong. Discipline is about becoming strong. In silence, in practice, in repetition. Nobody claps when you wake up at 5 a.m. to train. Nobody cheers when you choose to bite your tongue instead of lash out. But those quiet moments of discipline are what make you untouchable when pressure comes. Let's break this into real-world application. Ego reacts, discipline responds. Reaction is emotional, response is intentional. Every time you replace reaction with response, you're choosing strength over weakness. Ego demands, discipline earns. Ego wants shortcuts, respect, power, attention without the grind. Discipline doesn't beg. It works, it trains, it builds. That's why discipline lasts. Ego consumes, discipline invests. Ego burns energy chasing recognition. Discipline invests energy into habits, routines, and preparation. One drains you, the other builds you. You want to know the real reason disciplined people are respected? It's because you can't shake them. You can't bait them. You can't manipulate them. They've trained their mind and body to follow principle, not pride. They're consistent when others are chaotic. That's why they lead. That's why they win. But here's the catch. Replacing ego with discipline requires humility. You've got to accept that your pride is not your power. It's your liability. You've got to be willing to say, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I'm here to train myself, to sharpen myself, to master myself. That mindset is what separates the truly powerful from the easily played. Here's a tactical drill for you. The next time your ego flares up, when you feel that urge to clap back, to post, to prove, stop. Ask yourself, what's the disciplined move here? Not the emotional move, not the prideful move, the disciplined one. Maybe it's silence, maybe it's walking away. Maybe it's focusing on your work while others waste energy fighting shadows. That's where your power is. Discipline isn't glamorous, it's not dramatic, it's steady, consistent, relentless. And that's exactly why it works. Ego screams for attention today, discipline builds results that last forever. Look at any field, business, sports, leadership, even survival. The people at the top aren't the loudest. They're the most disciplined. They put in the hours when nobody's looking. They master control of their emotions when everyone else is spiraling. That's what gives them the edge. So if you want to be untouchable, if you want to stop being predictable, if you want to rise above manipulation and fragility, stop feeding your ego. Start feeding your discipline. Build habits that train your mind to choose calm over chaos. Train yourself to value progress over pride. Because the more disciplined you are, the less anyone can control you. Here's the bottom line. Ego is about proving. Discipline is about improving. Ego wants applause. Discipline wants mastery. Ego is fragile. Discipline is unbreakable. The day you replace ego with discipline is the day you stop being easy to rattle, easy to manipulate, easy to break. And that's the day you step into true power. There's a difference between looking powerful and being powerful. Loud ego looks powerful on the surface. The shouting, the bragging, the constant need to show off. But true confidence, real power, it doesn't need an announcement. It doesn't need a stage. It speaks without words. That's the weapon of silent confidence. Understand this. The people who scream about their strength usually don't have it. If you were really strong, you wouldn't need to advertise it. Think about the most dangerous people in the world: elite operators, undercover agents, high-level strategists. They don't walk into a room and tell you they're powerful. They don't broadcast their skills. They sit quietly, observing, reading every detail, every movement, and when they act with precision. That's silent confidence. Loud ego, on the other hand, is insecure. It has to perform, it has to be noticed, it has to say, look at me, respect me, fear me. But here's the truth. If you have to ask for respect, you don't have it. If you have to shout for power, you've already lost it. Respect isn't demanded, it's commanded. And it's commanded through presence, not noise. Silent confidence is magnetic. It draws people in because it's rare. When everyone else is scrambling to prove themselves, the person who sits back in control stands out. They don't need to interrupt. They don't need to argue. They don't need to dominate the conversation. Their calmness, their composure, their unshakable energy, that's what makes them powerful. Here's the tactical truth. Loud ego makes you predictable. People know you'll fight for validation. They know you'll take the bait when challenged. They know you'll waste your energy proving yourself. But silent confidence makes you unreadable. Nobody knows what you're thinking. Nobody knows how you'll respond. And that unpredictability gives you the advantage. Let's go practical. Say you're in a group setting. Ego wants you to dominate, to show everyone how smart or skilled you are. Silent confidence tells you to listen first, observe, read the room, speak only when it matters. And when you do, you drop a sentence so sharp, so precise, that everyone listens. That's how influence works, not by filling the air with noise, but by controlling the weight of your words. Another example, someone attacks you verbally, expecting you to explode. Ego says, shout back, prove yourself. Silent confidence says, stay calm, hold your ground, don't give them the satisfaction of a reaction. And here's what happens. The attacker looks small, unhinged, desperate. You look composed, in control, untouchable. That's the edge of silent confidence. True confidence is proven in discipline, not drama. It's in the way you carry yourself, not the way you broadcast yourself. It's in the way you maintain composure under pressure, not the way you collapse into overreaction. Loud ego makes noise. Silent confidence makes impact. And here's something critical. Loud ego is temporary. It burns hot and fast, but it burns out. Silent confidence lasts. It's sustainable because it's built on inner control, not outer approval. It's not about being seen, it's about being solid. That's why the people with silent confidence keep winning long after the ego-driven crowd has crumbled. So how do you build this silent confidence? First, strip away the need for external validation. Stop chasing applause. Stop caring who notices. Train yourself to move with purpose, not performance. Second, practice composure. When you feel triggered, pause. Don't rush to react. Confidence is in the pause. Third, speak less, mean more. Don't waste words. Don't fill silence with noise. Every time you choose restraint, you increase your power. Silent confidence also demands preparation. You don't become calm under fire by accident. You become calm because you've trained. You've built discipline, sharpened awareness, mastered control. That preparation gives you the foundation to stay steady when others shake. Think about it like this. Loud ego is a mask. Silent confidence is armor. One is fragile, the other is unbreakable. One needs recognition, the other doesn't care. One collapses under pressure, the other thrives in it. And here's the real kicker. People trust silent confidence more. Why? Because it feels authentic. You don't have to oversell yourself. You don't have to scream your worth. People can see it, feel it, sense it, and trust built on presence is far stronger than respect demanded by pride. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. You can chase power through noise, or you can build it through silence. You can rely on ego, fragile and reactive, or you can embody confidence, calm, disciplined, unshakable. Silent confidence doesn't need to say, I am powerful. It makes people look at you and think, she can't be broken. She can't be played. She can't be moved. That's real strength. That's true power. Here's the hard truth. Ego is not your friend. Ego is not your strength. Ego is your trap. It's the liar in your head that tells you to fight every fight, win every argument, demand every ounce of respect. But in reality, ego is what makes you fragile. It's what makes you predictable. It's what makes you easy to manipulate, easy to break, easy to lose. If you keep letting ego run your life, you'll keep losing battles that discipline could have won for you. You'll keep wasting energy proving yourself instead of improving yourself. You'll keep being baited, triggered, and outplayed because pride is controlling your moves. But when you decide to drop the ego and replace it with discipline, everything shifts. You become harder to read, harder to rattle, harder to control. People can insult you and you won't bite. They can flatter you and you won't melt. They can challenge you and you won't waste energy on useless fights. That's when you start moving with real psychological strength. That's when you start becoming untouchable. Silent confidence will take you further than loud ego ever could. Confidence doesn't scream, it doesn't demand, it doesn't need applause. Confidence is quiet, it's still, it's consistent. It shows up in how you handle pressure, how you recover from failure, how you carry yourself when nobody's looking. That's where real strength lives. In discipline, in awareness, in restraint. The question you need to ask yourself is simple. Do you want to feed your ego, or do you want to build your power? Because you can't do both. Ego will keep you fragile. Discipline will make you unbreakable. Ego will keep you chasing validation. Discipline will make you undeniable. Ego will trap you in noise. Discipline will train you in silence. So here's your challenge. The next time your pride flares up, don't let it take the wheel. Don't clap back, don't prove, don't defend. Choose discipline, choose control. Choose silence over noise, restraint over reaction, power over pride. Because at the end of the day, strength isn't about how loud you are. It's about how unshakable you are. The strongest women are not the ones who announce their power. They're the ones who embody it. Quietly, relentlessly, consistently. Ego says, respect me. Confidence commands it. Ego says, notice me. Discipline doesn't care. Ego says, I can't lose. Strength says, even if I fall, I'll rise stronger. Kill the ego. Build the discipline. Walk with silent confidence. And watch how quickly the world realizes you're not to be played with, not to be rattled, not to be broken. That's real power. That's untouchable strength. That's you when ego is no longer in control.